Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.
Good morning, Sacramento. The Saturday HOA Brunch is back. And it's Saturday morning, and we are going to talk about community associations, right, Counselor?
That's right, and good morning to all the other geographic areas that listen to us now, all the way over to the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, the Bay Area. We have a lot of listeners that are also listening via the World Wide Web, right? They go to the AM 1380 website, listen live, or they listen on iHeartRadio, which is exciting. The first order of business I'd like to get out of the way is really thank Rick DeGruccio for filling in last week.
Fantastic job. Rick DeGruccio always just steps up to the plate and has been practicing HOA law for about 12 years now.
12 years.
Plus, he's been on a board of directors for about 9 years.
So he's just got a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
and
real trooper.
He always tells me that he has the best face for radio when he gets to come down and participate.
And you know what? I want to let everyone know that we've received a lot of feedback, and what we're going to be doing is when we do Battle of the Board members, we're going to go ahead and put the questions and the answers on the webpage. People want to know exactly, because sometimes they don't always hear the caller, and they want to make sure that, when they follow along, that they hear the question and the answer. And
we've even had some listeners that want to challenge the answers.
Right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and if anyone then reads our answer, right, and then they're correct, we find out, oh, we're wrong, we missed that one, and they're right, then we're going to put something together. We haven't, really decided
what'd you say,
yet.
$1,380 if they can write a memorandum
correcting
us?
This station is $13.80 the answer, so we're going to figure out something, it's not going to be, $13.80, but it'll be something really fun. So if you want to call in, it's 888-923-1380, 888-923-1380. Again, you can listen to our show on your smartphone, and that's what a good slew of board members are doing when they're out walking around or doing gardening or what have you, doing chores around. Then they got the smartphone in the pocket, and then they got the earbuds. Earbuds now. There's some great earbuds now where they're cordless. My son was showing them to me yesterday. It's pretty neat. $70, and it's this thing that goes around your head. The technology is really great.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so there's a couple of other places that you can find out more information regarding our show. You can go to Facebook, search the Saturday HOA Brunch, give us a like, and you can also go to our webpage, which we will be sprucing up a little bit this year. This is, I believe, our 50th episode also.
This is the 50th or the 51st?
50th.
50th, fantastic.
50th episode.
How have we survived? It's unknown.
Barely, because we have a legend, Frank Jolly, a production engineer in the back. So we exclusively talk about community association law, and we're going to kick the year off with a bang, and we're going to bring in someone that participates in community association day-to-day business at the national level. He actually works with federal legislators to help adopt and create policy for community associations from the world's largest management company, Associa. Is that exciting?
That is exciting. This man is a long-time star, very well known in the industry, very well liked in the industry, well respected. We're very happy.
Excellent. So Frank's playing secretary right now, and let's see. Frank, do you got Mr. Andrew Fortin on the line for us? He's working on it. So it's going
to be Andrew Fortin and he's with Associa.
Yeah, calling in from Dallas, Texas. That's where their corporate headquarters are. And you and Paul Terry actually got to visit the Associa headquarters in Dallas.
Right. I'm with the law firm of Angius&Terry, and Paul Terry and I went out. It was last year. We went out to Dallas to see Associa's new central office and central financing office. It was very impressive. Got to meet all kinds of people from the great management company of Associa. And we're going to look at and talk about really some great subjects. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Andrew says about drones, because there's a new state law about drones we're going to talk about next week, but it's going to be trends that we're going to see for common interest communities in 2016, right?
He has kind of a forecast of things that he can see as trends that are going to affect common interest developments in 2016.
And we're going to also talk about the different federal regulations and laws that affect common interest communities, because most of this, the law is state law. So it's going to be really interesting to see the interplay between that and what Andrew Fortin says about that.
And hey, Frank's giving us the thumbs up. So from Dallas, Texas, Mr. Andrew Fortin, can you hear us?
Oh, he just got cut. Jonathan, I see on the big board that he just got cut off, so he's going to get on in just a second. And he's also going to talk about some California-specific issues. So Andrew Fortin, he'll have all kinds of information for us on the common interest community front.
I'm excited, and I'm anxiously awaiting the technical difficulties to be, fixed.
Right, and so he's going to talk about the impacts that these laws are going to have on boards, managers, homeowners, challenges facing management companies like Associa, and what role are the different vendors going to play in this? The different service providers. We're also going to talk about challenges that he sees in our industry.
Frank's giving us the thumbs up again. So, Andrew, are you with us?
I'm with us. Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear from Dallas, Texas. I know that there's probably some sports fans there that are a little bit disappointed because that is cowboy country, but we're here to talk about community associations, so we're excited to have you with us.
Well, I appreciate that. It was I got disconnected right at the most interesting part. You were saying nice things about me, which I greatly appreciate, and I am just thrilled to be here. I can't think of a better thing to talk about. One, because this is what I do, but more importantly, I can't think of any industry that better represents the importance of people getting engaged in their community than ours. I mean, it's just such an American kind of thing.
I love the concept.
Yeah, so let's chat, guys. What can we talk about today?
Well, let's kick it off with the information that we discussed earlier in the week. You have some trends that you see, some different issues that are going to surface in community, common interest developments in communities in 2016, and there's the hot issue of drones.
Drones. Well, I want to talk about drones because I think that's a really fascinating thing. But before I get to that, I just want to do one shout-out. I want to do a shout-out to all your listeners. I love to talk about these challenges and things like that, but too often HOA board members and condo boards get painted with a broad and negative brush. And I just want to take a minute to reflect on the contributions that your listeners make to their communities in California and folks who serve on boards in other states. In California alone, 9 million people, you guys I'm sure talk about that all the time, live in common interest communities, and 300,000 of those residents volunteer their time to help run those communities. And that's a thankless job. So I want to give a shout out to them. And, if you consider that if the city or the county was performing these services, that's $10 million in volunteer labor these folks provide. So I want to just start with a big thank you to all of them and anybody who serves their community in California or elsewhere. So now that I've got your listeners on my side, let's talk about drones.
Real quick, Andrew, just because we're going to go to break in about 45 seconds, can you give us a brief bio real quick with your experience? We'll go to break, we'll come back, and we're going to just jump right into the hot issue of drones.
Great, and cut me off if you need to. I work for Associa, the nation's largest community management company. We manage communities all over North America, the Middle East, and Africa. Prior to that, I was the lobbyist for the Community Associations Institute, and I've worked for Congress. So I have a career that's built on bringing people together.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. You're not going to want to miss this. We've got Andrew Fortin from Dallas, Texas, works for Associa, and we are going to just jump into some hot issues affecting community associations in 2016. We'll be back with Andrew. Stay with us.
If your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. Online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community association management industry for over 20 years.
Have you ever heard of the saying, a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angius&Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angius&Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angius&Terry LLP. Professional Parking Enforcement, or PPE, was created to provide effective parking solutions for all types of parking issues. PPE focuses on parking problems of HOAs and can quickly eliminate these problems through their system of property inspection, violation updating, ticketing, and enforcement. Contact PPE today at 702-283-0628, online at ppenv.com. PPE, promoting harmony in HOAs through parking and compliance enforcement. We take time to understand your community's needs.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We solve small problems before they become big ones.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We help make your community a better place to live.
Silver Creek Association Management.
It's what we do, because an association is more than just a bunch of homes. It's a community of people. We work with you to make better communities so homeowners can enjoy better lives.
Silver Creek Association Management. Online at sc-manage.com. That's sc-manage.com.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Hey, we're back in studio. I'm looking at the clock. It says 9:19, and we have a special guest on the line. He has some industry clout, a lot of experience. He's done lobbying with federal legislators. He's worked for the Community Associations Institute at the national level. Andrew Fortin from Associa. Andrew, you're still there, correct?
I'm still here.
Awesome. So we're going to just jump right into some of the hot issues that are going to affect communities in 2016. And the first one that came up is drones.
Yeah, if you can believe it, isn't that crazy? Drones have emerged as a big issue, or are going to emerge, I think, this year as a big issue for community associations at just about every level of government and at the board level. It's pretty amazing that we have these, semi-autonomous little flying machines that you can buy for as little as $100. But it does raise some important issues for communities when it comes to privacy and safety. For example, will common interest communities be able to regulate the use of drones in their communities and in common areas? Clearly, there is a safety issue at play. Not the little 1 or 2 ounce ones you can buy at your local hobby shop, but bigger drones that have cameras on them. If I'm a resident using that and I'm launching it from a park or a public common area in the community, and it crashes into someone's car or heaven forbid another person, who's liable there, and what are those safety issues involved? Another interesting take on that is, will association boards start using drones to seek out violations of CC&Rs? You can imagine a drone with a camera, flying up and looking at if sheds are in compliance in backyards and things like that, and what rights do the association have to use these tools versus the rights of privacy of the people in these communities. And then finally, if you think about real estate professionals trying to show off the community, how are we going to regulate when a third party comes in, or a landscaper or an architect comes in and starts flying a drone around the community to do a promotional piece or an expose or something like that? So this is an emerging issue. We'll see legislators and county commissioners, and we've even seen the FAA FAA weigh in on this. I think for Christmas they said if your drone is over a certain weight, the federal government regulates it. So there's going to be a lot of discussion on this. You'll see it come from us as a management company, I'm sure from industry groups, with best practices for our boards in adopting policies to deal with this new challenge.
Yes, Andrew, you're absolutely correct. In California, there has been a bill that is now a law. It's Assembly Bill 856, and it amends the Civil Code, Section 1708.8, and it's actually addressing drones in this, with the aspect with respect to it's now expanding liability. The way it puts it, it expands liability for physical invasion of privacy, and it includes a person who knowingly enters into the airspace above the land of another person without permission. So it's expanding this liability. It's addressing drones in that respect. I really like the angle that Andrew talked about with respect to perhaps a board will go ahead and try and find violations, determine whether there's violation with drones. I recently had a friend, a board member in a community association. They sold their home, and they did use a drone with respect to selling their home. It was really fantastic, and the home sold in just a couple of days because of that. The associations, because of this new law, they need to consider whether they want to adopt any kind of rules or regulations, especially if they have open areas such as a park or something like that. So, Andrew, California, yeah, they're jumping on it with AB 856. It's Civil Code Section 1708.8.
Well, that's typical of California. They always tend to be ahead of the curve when it comes to stuff like this. So one of the things we can do is take some lessons from that and look at applying it elsewhere as a company. So thanks for that info.
Excellent. So the next issue, I'm chuckling a little bit. We got a drone under the Christmas tree, and I actually crashed it in someone else's backyard, but no harm was done. Nobody got hurt. So I'm going to take some drone flying lessons.
No lawsuits.
No lawsuits.
No lawsuits pending yet.
Yeah. So you have on this list of 2016 trends is mandated board education.
Yeah, well, this is a big challenge, and, I gave a shout-out earlier to all our board members. Board members and managers have a really difficult job. If you think about what they do, they manage, or the board members govern a community, and they play a role that, maybe in years past that an elected town council would do, or something like that. So they need to be experts on zoning. They need to be experts on rule enforcement and accounting and dispute resolution and counseling and all these things. And so we're seeing legislators struggle with providing tools to these volunteer board members to help them do their job better. And we've seen states like Hawaii and South Carolina and in Canada, Ontario has actually mandated that boards take a certain set of coursework before they serve on the board. Now, I think everybody would welcome tools as a board member or as a manager to make sure our boards know what their obligations are, how to treat people fairly, and things like that. But it raises a whole host of other questions. You guys are attorneys, you know this, is just like with the drones, the devil's in the details. So if the state mandates board education, who provides it? How is it paid for? And what are the consequences if the board doesn't go through that process? Are their actions invalidated? Can they still fine or enforce the rules? So we're working with legislators here and in north of the border to try to find that right balance. Florida, if you did not know this, mandates education for condo boards, and they charge a tax of $2 per door per condo unit across the state, and that money is supposedly, and I'm using finger quotes, which you can't see on the radio, goes into a pot to fund these educational tools. Ironically, what they do is they take about $250,000 of that revenue a year, dedicated that to education, and the rest of the money gets swept into the general fund to fund other programs. So that's an outcome we don't want to have happen. And it's trying to find the right line where tools and incentives are provided to volunteer board members to have the background they need without creating a barrier to entry, because it's hard enough, as you all know and as your listeners know, to get good people to volunteer to serve on those boards. boards. And boards are only as good as the volunteers, and these communities are only as good as the people who get engaged to help run their communities. So that's something we're going to struggle with and work with regulators across the country this year to find a solution that works for everybody.
Yeah, and in California for years, there has been sort of rumors and attempts at legislation for community managers to be certified, but there is no law yet in California for that. And California is not taking the lead on this for mandated board education. So nothing yet in California.
But it's nice to know you've been involved with the Community Associations Institute for quite some time, correct, Andrew?
Yes, I've been in the industry now for 10 years.
And so those types of organizations like CAI, they actually provide a lot of education that board members, community managers, or maybe somebody that's interested in participating on their board of directors, they can reach out to CAI and they can find a host of different trade shows, luncheons, and educational seminars that are actually put on to help make better board members and better community managers. You'd agree, correct?
You're absolutely right, and it's not just the industry groups that do this, and there's a variety of them in California. There's CAI, there's Community Association Managers Association, but law firms provide this to their client boards, and Associa does this. We're very proud that we have what we call Associa University, which is an online university for our clients and for our employees that they can go on and get the training they need. So there are sources out there, as you said, for free and high-quality education for boards. So if you're on a board and you guys want to get up to speed on stuff, reach out to your CAI chapter, reach out to the law firm that you use, or even your management company, because these tools are there, they're available, they're almost ubiquitous, and in most cases free. So the tools exist, and that's one of the arguments we have is, the state shouldn't create a whole new, reinvent the wheel. Let's find ways to incentivize these folks to go out and get what's already out there.
Next up on the list, and we've got about 2 minutes, FHA condo approvals, right? California requires disclosure to potential buyers.
Yeah, well, this is a great issue. Prior to the economic crisis, FHA wasn't an important source of funding for people buying condos. And since the economic slump, FHA's emerged as kind of the benchmark for condo lending. So they put in place, after the crisis, standards that condos need to meet for folks to get mortgages from FHA to buy into that condo. And in a market like California, which is very expensive, this is a good tool for first-time buyers. So what happened in California this year is, as of July of this year, if you're a condo in California, condo association, you have to disclose to potential buyers if your association is FHA approved and VA approved. FHA is more common, and why that's important is they also shifted the burden. So if I wanted an FHA loan to buy a condo in your association, typically prior to 2009, the lender would work with me to get that done. Now, the association, has to get approval for the entire association before any potential buyer can get an FHA-backed mortgage. So it's important that boards this year sit back and take a look as to if they want to get that approval or not. They're not required. There's no legal obligation to do that, but it does help make their units and the association marketable to a broad audience. Management companies, Associa, others have divisions that help them walk through this process, as do many law firms in the state. So if they have any questions, they should reach out to their management company or to their lawyer to talk about what that process entails. It's not hard, but it's rather technical, so you need to do that ahead of time, because when you have a unit owner with a buyer who wants FHA financing coming to the table, it takes 60 days to get approved. So you're going to lose that sale unless you've got that approval in your pocket.
Andrew, you're right on the money. And so that's Assembly Bill 596, everyone. Assembly Bill 596, which is now an amendment to Civil Code Section 5300. And a lot of our association boards have been calling us, and they are getting on the bandwagon. They are getting certified. They're going to you'll be certified for 2 years.
More with Andrew Fortin when we come back from the break.
Having trouble understanding your community association's reserve study? Does your HOA's reserve study seem to be written in a strange language? How Hi, I'm Robert Browning, owner of the Browning Reserve Group. At the Browning Reserve Group, we have been providing easy-to-understand reserve studies since 1999. We actually listen to our communities and help them plan for the future. Find us online at browningrg.com. That's browningrg.com, or toll free at 877-708-0600. That's 877-708-0600. Clarity from complexity. The Browning Reserve Group.
If you are a community association or manager, you know your banking relationship is vital to your success. At Sacramento Bank of Commerce, a division of Redding Bank of Commerce, our industry expertise and personal attention make that task a breeze. With our specialized banking, lockbox, online banking, and remote deposit capture, trips to the bank are no longer necessary. And Sacramento Bank of Commerce can help your communities with a loan to repair, replace, or upgrade the investment. For local decisions and in-house processing, get in touch with our team today. Call Sacramento Bank of Commerce at 916-772-0131. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you see the story about the Homeowners Association? I wonder what their residents think.
I don't know, but I love my condominium association. The place looks great and is well managed, and our property values are increasing.
Well, that's a good thing.
Community Associations Institute, CAI, has helped us build a great community. They have tools for safeguarding our investment, including education for our board and professional training for our manager. Just visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Okay, responsiblecommunities.com.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Back from the break, and Andrew Fortin from Associa has been with us. Andrew, first and foremost, thanks for joining us on a Saturday. We hope that we didn't put a dent in any plans that you might have had this weekend, but when the opportunity presented itself to have your knowledge shared with us and our California listenership and everyone on the internet, it's greatly appreciated.
Well, thanks for having me. California is a big market for our company, and we love our clients there, and we love our industry. So whatever I can do to help. Yeah.
So if we discussed maybe 15 or 20 minutes. If you want to keep on rolling, let's do it.
I will keep on rolling.
All right. So the next up, we've talked about drones. We've talked about mandated board education. We've gotten into FHA condo approvals, service animals, emotional support animals. I know I have a miniature pony in my community that helps me on a day-to-day basis. But what do you have with service animals, emotional support animals?
I think a lot of your listeners in California, and we see this nationally, struggle not with the service animal issue. I think the law is really settled on that, and I think people understand that if someone has a service dog who helps them, a seeing eye dog, a hearing ear dog, something like that they understand their obligation to accommodate that animal in meetings and on common areas and things like that. I think that's pretty clear. I think where we see challenges are people with emotional support animals, because we see some abuse in that arena. An emotional support animal, different than a service animal. Service animals train and performs a specific purpose. An emotional support animal is an animal by its mere presence provides therapeutic benefits to the custodian of that animal. And no board, wants to get in a battle with a resident who has a mental illness or an anxiety issue, and if you're up against an issue that involves a puppy or a cat or an emotional support pig or something like that, that's a really hard situation to be in. But what we see is we have seen issues with, I live in a condo, a one-bedroom condo, and I have a need to have 6 emotional support pit bulls or something like that. So we have been doing some work as a management company to make sure that our boards are informed as to what their obligations are when it comes to both service animals and emotional support animals. And it's very clear, and you guys can serve on a check with me, is if someone has a need for that, you are not allowed to ask them what their specific disability or challenge is that requires them to have that animal present. but you are allowed to ask for support from a doctor saying, hey, this person has a need for this to perform a function or something like that. So our advice is to, one, always approach those things with both an open mind and with patience and understanding rather than overreacting, because we don't want any of our boards or residents who have needs for these animals to be involved in a media battle over the validity or need for that animal. But you alluded to, service animals can be dogs, they can be miniature ponies. Emotional support animals, we've seen everything from emotional support chickens to pigs to kangaroos. So if you run across an issue, especially regarding an emotional support animal, that's a good time to reach out to your manager or, more appropriately, your board's attorney to make sure that you handle that in a way that is appropriate and respects the rights of the residents.
Perfect. And actually, out in California, we have it's a case local to Sacramento. It's Auburn Woods 1 Homeowners Association versus the Fair Employment and Housing Commission. So you pull up Auburn Woods number 1 on the computer. It's 121 Calat 4th, 1578. And this is about Pookie, the dog. So this was a case that was in 2004, and this really it sets the standard for it. And really exactly what Andrew said is, and that is, you can't require the owner for a lot of written evidence behind their request for a companion pet. So this is Pookie, the companion dog, and it went up to the Court of Appeals. So the law is pretty well settled out here. And yeah, there's some abuse from both angles. You got to be careful with that. You could actually go and see the Department of Justice. They have some FAQs that talk about this, so exactly what you can and can't do with respect to companion pets.
Yeah, and we've put out a lot of articles on that as well. But the thing is just because abuse exists, don't assume that the person is doing something wrong. Assume that they have a need for this and approach it from that angle and do your due diligence before you take action.
Right, yeah. Sort of two aspects I want to underline what Andrew said. One is you got to jump right on this. You can't go ahead and intentionally delay or even negligently delay an owner's request for a companion pet. And two, you got to, like Andrew said, you got to be patient with this stuff. Don't assume things. And a California law, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, they look for a give and take, a meet and confer when it comes to any kind of disability request for a reasonable accommodation.
Yeah. Oh, there's my companion pet, Bacon. I brought him in, my pig. Sorry about that. Okay, manager licensing, Andrew.
This isn't necessarily a big issue in California right now. It's come up in the past. California has a really great voluntary certification law on the books, and we wish other states would adopt that. When you look at what a manager does, they help the board in carrying out the operational functions of the community. They work with the board, and millions of dollars pass through, that operation. The board wants to make sure, and the residents want to make sure that they have a qualified professional in that position. And California has a great solution to that issue, and saying if you hold yourself out as a certified community manager, you actually have to have a professional certification from one of those professional trade groups. And so the best way to protect your community is, and there's a lot of pressure on price, right? We need to get the cheapest management company possible or whatnot to keep our assessments down, is look for a professional manager who has a professional designation. That's important for two reasons. One, it gives you and the board and the residents the understanding that they have a minimum level of education and expertise in this industry. And as we talked about before, a manager and a board, they have to know parliamentary procedure and dispute resolution and accounting and be up to speed on all these laws and issues we've just been talking about. It also gives the board and the residents a mechanism to hold that manager accountable for wrongful acts. And I'm not just talking from a lawsuit perspective. If someone holds a professional designation from CAI or from CACM, the board can file a complaint, or the residents can file a complaint for action, unprofessional action by that manager, and they can lose that professional designation, and that's a big deal. Other states have mandated that the manager has to have a license, like a cosmetologist or a doctor or an attorney, and they've put in place a lot of requirements for the manager. They have to take a state test and do all these other things. And we've seen that in states like Nevada and Virginia and Florida really limit the choice of management companies, or not management companies, of communities in talent that they can hire to run their communities and have greatly increased costs. So here's an example where we take the lessons and the expertise of California in their voluntary certification regime, and we evangelize that, if you will, when we go to other states, because you want someone in that position who has a minimum set of education standards and a mechanism to hold them accountable. But you don't want to create this whole new agency within the state government that charges your manager or your management company thousands of dollars a year to get that person qualified. That just comes back to you on cost. So that's an issue that will continue to come up for debate in California and elsewhere.
Right. That's still up for debate in California. Nothing has been passed, but you're right. So with CAI, Community Association Institute, and CACM, California Association of Community Managers, they have the private certification for managers. And I think it is industry-wide that everyone believes that because of those two organizations and just like because of companies like Associa, the standard of competence of community managers has risen extremely high over the last 20 years. I say the last 20 years because that's how long I've been doing this, and I can really attest to that. The standard of competence of managers has been increased, and you mentioned earlier, Andrew, about the education that you provide, Associa provides, and both Jonathan and I said, wow, we didn't know about that.
Associa University.
Yeah, and so it is really reflective. We know Associa managers. We work with Associa managers, and they are fantastic. And we also do work in Nevada, just for a little comparison, and you're absolutely right. There's some unhappiness with respect to the transparency, the oversight of community managers.
Yeah, and this is something that we feel very strongly about. We think that our managers should be well trained, and it's so important to us that as a benefit of employment for our managers, we support them and pay for them in getting their CMCA, their AMS, and PCAM, which are the professional designations issued by the Community Associations Institute. That said, I'm sure there's listeners and clients of ours who've had a management experience that are like, oh, well, hey, what good did that do me? It's, well, there's folks out there. There is no barrier to entry into this industry. I can go out today, hang up my shingle outside to manage your community and handle millions of dollars and handle all these issues that create liability, like how I deal with emotional support animals, that puts your community on the hook. So we want to make sure that our clients, and we want to make sure folks in the industry understand that you need someone in there who has some education and some expertise, whether it's from CAI, CACM, or from IREM or some other organization.
Yeah, excellent content. We are going to get ready to go to break here. And Andrew, if you wouldn't mind joining us for the last segment, maybe we can just talk about, what are some of the challenges facing management companies like Associa? And then, of course, we're going to want to hear, what's the Associa way and why would a client potentially choose Associa to manage their association? How's that sound, Andrew?
That sounds great.
All right, we'll be back shortly.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group. Professional Parking Enforcement, or PPE, was created to provide effective parking solutions for all types of parking issues. PPE focuses on parking problems of HOAs and can quickly eliminate these problems through their system of property inspection, violation updating, ticketing, and enforcement. Contact PPE today at 702-283-0628, online at ppenv.com. PPE, promoting harmony in HOAs through parking and compliance enforcement. We take time to understand your community's needs.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We solve small problems before they become big ones.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We help make your community a better place to live.
Silver Creek Association Management.
It's what we do, because an association is more than just a bunch of homes. It's a community of people. We work with you to make better communities so homeowners can enjoy better lives.
Silver Creek Association Management. Online at sc-manage.com. That's sc-manage.com.
News, opinion, insight. AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
The rain's gone. The sun's shining in through the beautiful studio windows here at KTKZ 1380, The Answer. And we've had the pleasure of having Andrew Fortin join us from Associa. He's been giving us a wealth of information and kind of a forecast and some trends that are going to be affecting community associations, not only in California, but at the national level. So, Andrew, we've got one more segment in the show, and we're honored that you stuck with us to go for the full hour. So what are some of the challenges facing management companies like Associa that you see, in the future?
Well, that's a great question. It's important for folks to remember, and you guys alluded to this earlier, having, I've been in the industry 10 years, 20 years, what have you. We're still a very young industry. And Associa, as a global community management company, we're on the cutting edge of creating what that service delivery model is going to look like, right? We have an industry that's dominated by small local management companies, and that's fantastic. But as with any industry, as time goes on and that industry becomes more regulated, you see consolidation within that industry. So we struggle with two issues. Is one, how do we continue to grow as a company and provide a locally focused service to our clients? How do we deploy technology to make sure that we deliver services to our clients that is above and beyond? Our mission as a company is to deliver unsurpassed management and lifestyle services to communities worldwide. And one way we've done that in the past year is we have put in place a state-of-the-art accounting process where we have completely separated the day-to-day management of our communities by our management professionals from the financial side of it. So if you live in an associate-managed community as we move into the future, we have a state-of-the-art facility that handles the finances, that separates that function from the management to protect the financial resources of the community and allow the use of technology so managers or so the board member can go in and click on an invoice to make sure it's paid and look at their financials in real time. That's the direction we're trying to move in. And how do you do that in a way that still creates a local, focused feel for that? Because we have, in my opinion, and that's why I came here from the Community Associations Institute. I never thought I'd be living in Texas. I was a D.C. East Coast guy. But when I was invited to join this team and I saw the trends in the industry, you're going to see more consolidation. This company, Associa, has got a plan to do that to best serve our clients, and I wanted to be part of that. And I don't think that precludes, I think that's going to make the industry better. You'll have companies like Associa that can offer an array of services to all different kinds of communities wherever they are in the world, and you're going to have local folks in the Bay Area or in Southern California who are boutique and who specialize in a specific area. I think that's going to make the industry better. But how do we deploy technology? How do we create systems that better serve our clients? And most importantly, how do we attract talent to our industry? Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to go to college to be a community manager. People tend to fall into our industry. So that's something that we, and I know other management companies, struggle with, and we work collaboratively with them to make sure that we are seen as an industry that a talented person who has an interest in hospitality or serving others might be interested in coming to.
Yeah, and Associa is growing, and it's an international company. There's some of the characteristics or things that you have underneath the umbrella of Associa, like the tallest building in the world, correct?
I'm not sure we still manage that. We have an office in Dubai, believe it or not, and we manage a lot of those high-rises over there. And we have an office in South Africa, and you can get a tweet from one of our folks and one of our managers out there that's got an elephant in it. But what's fascinating about that is it's not about the location and it's not about the size. It's about our vision and our mission to serve our residents. This is an industry about personal relationships, and even though we are a company that spans, a good chunk of the globe, our service and our people are local in the community. That's who we hire, and we're there to manage those communities. And it's interesting, no matter where we are, if it's Mexico, Canada, Dubai, South Africa, or Northern California, the issues and challenges are the same. It's how do we bring people together to create a harmonious and well-run community.
Yeah, build the sense of community and continue to build the sense of community.
And doesn't Associa also has the charitable arm of them, right? We
Associa Cares.
Associa Cares. We go to that. You want to talk a little bit about that, Andrew? We go to an event down in Stockton every year that is very well attended, and they put together some money and help folks in need, right?
Disaster relief, all kinds of things.
Absolutely. That's something that we're very proud of. Associate Cares is our charitable arm. And, this has been a crazy year for weather for you guys out there, for us in Dallas. If your listeners remember over the Christmas holiday on December 26th, it was 81 degrees here in Dallas. We had huge tornadoes blow through the area and wipe out a lot of people's houses. It was very terrible. Our charitable arm, Associate Cares, which raises money from our client communities and the vendors that we work with and our employees, is there to help people in all communities, not just associate-managed communities. So we were able to contribute and earmark $100,000 for folks in Rowlett, which is a suburb of Dallas, to just give them grants to take care of their immediate needs. Most of these folks have insurance and things like that, but in the days following this disaster, whether it's here or a fire we had in Chicago in one of the units that we manage, it's giving them just a heads up or a leg up to get through those initial days of the crisis. And we've done that in California, and we've done that in Illinois and Virginia and Texas and as far away as Nepal with the earthquake there. So it is a great tool, and that's a great community building tool because that's what it's all about, right? And this isn't reserved for associate-based communities. So if something happens it's an El Nino year in California, lots of rain, people are nervous about mudslides, we take our commitment to community building so seriously that our employees donate their time and their money to support and protect folks when they get struck by an unfortunate event, and not limited just to our communities. So that's something important to remember. If something happens, reach out to us. We can help.
And I want to underline something you said previously. It is about the centralized financial services that Associa provides. When I was back in Dallas and visiting Associa, and we did see the building and all the folks that work back there, it was really impressive. And I've been speaking with some managers, and I think what's more important to an association than keeping their money safe. So can you tell us a little bit about how that works and the interplay between the local and the statewide with respect to the financial assistance that Associa provides?
Are you tired of listening to radio talk show hosts who really think they're somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting a little feedback. Okay, the feedback's gone. Okay. Well, like with any, we think the most important thing that we do, that we are entrusted with from our clients, is managing the finances of their community. And we, like other management companies, have had negative experiences with that. And as the industry matures, we want to look at models from other industries that give us ways to protect our client funds and to allow our managers to focus on management. So we have put together a state-of-the-art client services center where we handle the financial transactions for our communities. And that is a way that we can ensure protection of the financial resources of our community, as well as deploy technology to provide greater convenience for our boards. Now, we're the first person out there doing this. There's us and maybe First Services who have engaged in this challenge. And it's not without its bumps. But it's something that we believe so strongly in as a mechanism to provide the best service possible for our clients that we've invested a lot of time and money in that. And
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. We hope we can do it again, and have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. Thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.